One of the most prevalent issues in current fitness culture is the ambiguous definition of beginners, intermediates, and advanced. Apart from people who have just started that are surely going to be branded as beginners, which category you fall under is pretty much anybody's guess, and this has caused a spectrum of problems. As the lines between these three categories are very blurred, it is very difficult to know which category you will fall under. And although there are other valid metrics to measure your progress, like how many years you have been training, how much weight you can lift relative to your body weight, there's no metric that is better than the fat-free mass index to determine your category in the mainstream fitness context. And today, based on this metric, I'm going to give you the most realistic standard of what is a beginner, what is an intermediate, and what is an advanced.
Welcome to Fast Track Gains. I'm here to help you accelerate your gains. Alright, first things first, a brief explanation of what Fat-Free Mass Index, or FFMI for short, is. If you are familiar with a more mainstream BMI, or Body Mass Index, then Fat-Free Mass Index is the fat-free version of BMI. But unlike BMI is generally used to identify potential weight-related health risks, FFMI is more useful for athletes and fitness enthusiasts because it focuses on muscular development. And I'm going to use myself as an example. Back in August 2021, in this photo, my weight was 74 kilos. My height is 170 centimeters or 1.7 meters. So my BMI was 74 divided by the square of my height, 1.7, which gives you 25.6, which puts me in overweight category. And my body fat percentage was 25%. So my fat-free mass index is my weight minus my fat mass divided by the square of my height, which is 19.2. As I said previously, I was the shining example of what an average 30-year-old male would look like. With 25% body fat and fat-free mass index 19.2, I was right in the bullseye of average 30-year-old male's statistics and look more boring than a plain white shirt. As the default setting of mainstream fitness is muscle growth, not your strength, relative strength, training experience, or lifting technique, although they're all very important and highly associated with your muscle growth. Your fat-free mass index is by far the most direct measurement you can use to track your progress on your own fitness journey. Oh, by the way, if you want to know more about my own fitness journey, be sure to check out my second series, Hacking into the Ultimate Hypertrophy Code, because I definitely was not always what I am now. Okay, we have dispensed the boring explanation with a boring illustration. It is time to move on to the juicy part. What FFMI are you going to achieve when you're not a beginner anymore? In my estimation, when you hit a fat-free mass index of between 20.4 to 21 as a natural hypertrophy trainee, most likely you will have enjoyed all your newbie gains, and now it is time to face the reality that you have to grind like every other intermediate. Now, 20.4 is more realistic than 21 for most people, but for someone who is luckier than the majority, they may be able to push their fat-free mass very close to 21 before they become an intermediate. I'm still going to use myself as the example. This is a photo of me back in April 2022. I was 65.5 kilos at 9% body fat, and that gives you the appearance of what FFMI 20.4 looks like. I had been consistent in training for 7 to 8 months, and my strength progress had rapidly decreased within the same month, which is the best indication that my beginner stage had ended. To put things into perspective, FFMI 19.2 is the mean value on the population level, meaning that it sits at 50%, right at the center of normal distribution, which is the starting point for most people before their training. Whereas FFMI 20.4 sits at the top 25%, and FFMI 21 sits at top 15%, meaning that when you are graduated as a beginner, you will be more muscular than 75% or even 85% of the whole population. Now granted, you may still look like a normal person in clothing, but being more muscular than 3/4 of the whole population is not an easy feat to achieve for an average person. And if you're very lean, like say 10% body fat, you can look very impressive when you take your shirt off, and people will give you some compliments like, "Wow, you look like Bruce Lee or Brad Pitt in a Fight Club." And to be more frank with you, this is most likely the best result that most personal trainers in big commercial gyms can deliver because, let's face it, the mainstream fitness is beginner fitness. So, fat free mass index 20.4 to 21. This is the most realistic standard for you to claim that you are not a beginner anymore. And if your fat free mass index is below this standard, I don't care how strong you are, how long you have been training, how immaculate your lifting technique is, or how well versed you are in fitness science. In practical terms, you're a beginner. Case closed. Now let's move on to the next category, intermediates. This is the category that the lines are most blurred out of three categories, and for a very good reason. Because while beginner stage will be short and sweet, and the clear signs to indicate that you are not a beginner anymore, intermediate stage will be long and arduous, and there are generally no clear signs to show that you are not an intermediate anymore. When you combine the long grinding with no clear signs together, it is no surprise to see that most fitness enthusiasts will be trapped in the intermediate stage for a very, very long time, if not forever. But nevertheless, it is time to reveal the most realistic standard. What FFMI do you need to achieve for you to claim that you are not an intermediate anymore? Well, in my estimation, when you hit a fat free mass index of between 22 to 23 as a natural hypertrophy trainee, you may proudly decide that you don't want to stay as an intermediate anymore, and it is time to dab with some advanced training ideas. And if you have watched some of my oldest videos before, you should be very familiar with this term, generic ceiling height. I have mentioned this self-coined term multiple times before, and here I will reference again. A generic ceiling height physique, a fat free mass index between 22 to 23, with a body fat percentage between 10 to 15%, is the most realistic standard you can expect when you finish as an intermediate. Now, as intermediate stage is one step higher than the beginner stage and further distant from the central curve of normal distribution, the genetic variance between intermediates will be wider than between beginners. Hence the range fat free mass index 22 to 23 compared to fat free mass index 20.4 to 21. But for most people, most likely you will land somewhere close to 22.5. Again, use myself as an example. This was a photo of me taken back in November 2023. I was 72 kilos at 10% body fat, and that gives you the appearance of what fat free mass index 22.4 looks like. I have been constantly training for more than 2 years, and my weight after a long-term sustainable bulk plateaued at 76 kilos before I cut it to 72 kilos. If I did not call it a stop and re-examine my fitness protocol, I may be trapped at this weight for a very long time. To put things into perspective, FFMI 22 means that you're within top 5% of muscularity on population level, and FFMI 23 means that you're within top 2% of muscularity on population level. To achieve this level of muscularity, it's certainly not an easy task for most average people. You will have to dedicate years of training and eating into it. For some people, it may even take a decade if they are less genetically blessed. And when you remove your shirt, people will instantly associate your physique with some of the most distinguished athletes that require no introduction. Cristiano Ronaldo, Rafael Nadal, Michael Jordan, Usain Bolt, you name it. This is the main reason why I created my previous video, The Fastest Way to Train to Look Like an Athlete, and said, the secret of an athletic physique has nothing to do with any specific sports performance. It is only a matter of decent enough muscle mass and decent enough body fat percentage. Therefore, the fastest way to look like an athlete is to train like a bodybuilder. So, FFMI 22 to 23. This is the most realistic standard for you to claim that you are not an intermediate anymore. You will look like an elite athlete, and if your goal is an athletic physique, then the generic sitting height is perfect for you, and you may stay there forever. However, just realize that this is still not considered as advanced level in terms of muscularity. And here's the rub. When you are in a shirt, people may or may not pick out your training signs. This could be a very hard pill to swallow for many folks, given the fact that they have put in so much effort into this and are still not receiving the recognition they deserve. As I said in my previous video, the generic sitting height is like the line in the sand, and you will have to be really sure and determined before making the decision to cross the line. And if you do decide to cross the line and chase a higher muscle mass than FFMI 23, then congratulations, you are not a beginner, you are not an intermediate, so by default, you must be an advanced. And indeed, those with an FFMI higher than 23 are some of the biggest natural fitness superstars out there. Jeff Cavalier, Scott Herman, Sean Nanawaji, Jeff Nippert. They all have more than 1 million followers on YouTube. And to put things into perspective, what FFMI 23 means, particularly FFMI 23.5 means, is top 1% of muscularity on the population level. This is truly 1 in 100, and that is definitely worthy to be called advanced by anyone's standards. However, you will find that all the biggest natural fitness superstars that I have just mentioned, their FFMI all fall short of 23.5. For example, Jeff Cavalier has a fat-free mass index of 23.13. Scott Herman has an FFMI of 23.29. And Sean Nanawaji has an FFMI of 23.05. Very close to the top 1%, but just shy. This is the reason why I view them as early advanced, not late advanced as other people would. Yes, they can be legitimately considered as very advanced in terms of lifting experience and technique. Every one of them has more than a decade of training under their belt. Yes, they can all be legitimately considered as very advanced in terms of knowledge. Every one of them has a fairly deep understanding of anatomy, physiology, nutrition, and other fitness-related science. And yes, some of them can be legitimately considered as very advanced in terms of strength or relative strength. But in terms of muscular development, I would insist that they're only early advanced. Now, this is nitpicking to the max. Early advanced is already extremely difficult to achieve for most average natural hypertrophy trainees. But just in case, if you want to ascend yourself to absolutely legendary status, I would suggest that you shoot for FFMI over 24, which is the group of a handful of noble natties. Alex Leonidas, GVS, basement bodybuilding, natural hypertrophy, Coach Butler, Team 3D Alpha, and of course, yours truly, Fast Track Gains. That's it, guys, the most realistic standard for you to gauge which category you will fall under in the mainstream fitness context. Please like this video and subscribe to my channel. In the next video, I will talk about why it is important for you to know your category before consuming any fitness advice. Stay tuned, and I will see you all in the next video. Peace out.